Why we need to leave the sexual marketplace by Kidology? My response. So Kidology is a YouTuber I follow a lot and I'm subscribed to and all that. And yeah, the most recent video she uploaded is this one called Why We Need to Leave the Modern Sexual Marketplace. And she talks a bit about this kind of transactional nature of relationships. And I left a decently long comment on it where basically, I explain my thoughts on this, and I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to try to explain based with this comment as a script, more or less. So it's safe to assume for me that you have watched it since this is a video response, but just in case, as a quick overview, it basically uses some kind of Instagram model and random alpha kind of dude, I guess, who got in an argument because of this transactional nature of their relationship. So the video is talking with a personal anecdote about that, and analyzing a little bit and complaining basically about this state of affairs. And I thought the video was an interesting watch, and it is something that I had on the back of my mind for a while, right? It's something I think about. Then I will go more into detail about this at the end. But what I wanted to start with is that I do think that online dating is possible without this transactional vibe. And in fact, the only wedding that I've been to is a wedding from a couple that met online. But the thing is that it was in an online community, right? It wasn't. That's what I was invited, right? Because I was also part of that community, and that kind of replicates IRL vibes better than the apps. This is a photo of me dabbing in that wedding, who got extracted, and this is a PNG file, so this is transparent background. But basically, in these apps, people don't meet as organically as in real life, and those communities that I call are better for developing those kinds of relationships, in my opinion. And I've also seen the line, people go from seeing a photo to and a 30-word description of a character to entering a relationship is just wrong on so many ways. And I think it depends, because I've seen dating docs being used around on Twitter, posts on anon boards for meeting people and something like that. And I think that in those 30 words you can say a lot, and you can say a lot more honest things that maybe in just recurring meetings that happen just because of environment. But so there's these two sides of the coin. But the nature of communities, online communities that do have this kind of recurring vibe, make everything less transactional. And even still, I think that the texting dynamic that occurs in online relationships obviously makes stuff more difficult in comparison to real life relationships, or relationships that have a real life element, even if texting is still a major part of the process these days. I also had some thoughts on same-sex versus different-sex relationships, just based on things I've heard and anecdotal evidence, or popular knowledge, or stereotypes on stuff like media. By media, I don't mean just mainstream media or CBS, ABC type shows, but more or less podcasts that I hear from people from different communities and things like that, and how they go through relationships, stuff like that. And I get the vibe that even though there's a lot of stereotype of, for example, in same-sex relationships with guys, that guys only want sex and that's why they connect or something like that, I think that whether that stereotype holds super true or doesn't hold true or whatever, I do think that there does seem to be this more common understanding of what's going to go down, and the marketplace isn't as skewed, so maybe you don't give that much attention to those skewed dynamics in relationships or something like that, in the marketplace, and you don't pay as much attention as you do when in same-sex relationships as compared to opposite sex relationships. But it also does seem like there is this stereotype that in the long term same-sex relationships do struggle maybe, and that I was particularly thinking of male, but maybe lesbians are different or something like that, or other type of queer arrangements or whatever are different. But yeah, it does seem that long-term or transactional type thinking seems kind of to develop more in the long term, or that it's difficult to hold down a person after this casual, more or less agreed upon stage. It's harder to get people to stick around and stuff like that. And in contrast to that, it seems that in different sex relationships, like male-female relationships, things are different, right? It seems that in the short term, transactional thinking is like much more prone to happen, and it's basically like the standard. It kind of seems like playing the game, the transactional game, is unavoidable, and you have to think transactionally at the beginning so fucking hard. And yeah, that you are thinking, is he talking to other dudes in the DMs or whatever, or something like that? Because, for example, maybe in gay relationships that start in apps or whatever, it's kind of assumed that everyone is talking to a lot of people at the same time or something like that, right? So the thing that is harder is to get into that same page on the more long term or mid term or whatever. But in the earlier stages in different sex relationships, it seems like there is like much more mind game type stuff going on, right? And not only mind game, but I mean it in mind game with this transactional type of vibe, right? It's not only is she talking to other people or whatever, it's also like, is she talking to sexual market value higher people or these kind of things, right? Or are the other dudes whatever, I'm going to do something to make me look whatever, or this kind of stuff, or I'm going to stop replying so I look higher status because I'm so busy or something like that, right? But also, compared to that, I do think that in the long run, there's less vulnerability to these same marketplace dynamics, even though there is obviously setbacks and there are a lot of couples that cheat, and cheating is a problem, or jealousy and other type of market-based thinking that doesn't go away. Like, I could do better, or yeah, I've settled and I shouldn't have settled, or something like that. There are still this type of thinking, obviously, but that because of these traditional pressures on like same different sex relationships or whatever, heterosexual relationships, they act kind of as glue for the better and for the worse, right? Sometimes the glue ties people together that shouldn't be together, or that feel compulsed to be in a relationship or something like that. But yeah, basically that I think there is this kind of dynamic I've observed, or at least in popular media or something like that. It seems like this is a thing, right? In same-sex relationships, I was thinking between dudes, but I think I don't know. I think maybe lesbians also have this kind of problem. I think at different variations. Like I've seen the xual lesbian type meme, where they move on super quickly to this relationship stage. But I guess that it's a meme because it's popular, right? So it's kind of expected that lesbians will get together super quickly, while gay men will get together casually more quickly. But the long term is difficult, while lesbians is kind of like they get forced, they get the U-haul at the second date or something like that. But yeah, because there is also less pressure because of these heterosexual type vibes, they also maybe are more subjected to these marketplace comparisons between people in the long run compared to maybe same sex, different sex. And now this is the last part of my comment. I wanted to like vent a little bit and comment like my personal not my personal experiences in detail or anything like that, but just my feelings on this. And it's this that I do really hate feeling like something transactional is happening, and noticing this transactional side of dating or whatever really fucks me up, right? And I think it may be due to personal things like insecurity, and maybe people who are secure in attachment don't pay as much attention to these possibilities like thinking of themselves as market players with a sexual marketplace value compared to other people who also have their sexual marketplace value and are also playing the game in a sexual marketplace type vibe, right? Are also agents in this sexual marketplace, right? So thinking like that maybe happens less to people who are more secure in their attachment compared to, for example, myself or something like that. And that they do bring a lot of feelings of inferiority in my case, right? And do make me kind of anxious and make me detach from trying to get into relationship and things like that. So yeah, I would much prefer to be able to reframe things as just forming healthy relationships first, like forming a healthy relationship, maybe platonic or maybe, but just a healthy relationship in whatever sense, and then arriving at conclusions of compatibility, attractions, things like that, in that healthy environment, instead of having this kind of, I choose this guy because he's hotter, he's richer, because he has a bigger dick, or because whatever. And if a guy with a higher market value comes in, I will go after him. Or the same, but with girls, right? Or I'm settling with this girl, I should maybe not settle and aim higher because my value is higher, right? It's like, can we not and just think of maybe let's form a healthy relationship first, and instead of thinking this guy is hotter, it's maybe okay, I found that my person right now we don't have this chemistry, and the other person does have more chemistry or whatever. But yeah, framing it instead of on values and whatever and settling and changing, it's just figuring things out and realizing stuff and checking individual compatibility and things like that. And the last part of the comment is just something tangential and it's that I'm a Patreon. I support Kidology on Patreon, so I found it funny, and I do feel weird about those kind of transactional relationships as well. Paying money at a YouTube channel is weird because I don't want to, for example, sit down and analyze if certain benefits are worth it, or if I'm getting my money's worth, or things like that. It's just, I just want to support the channel, and in a way I can help, and if I can funnel crypto gains into a YouTube channel that I like, I will do it without thinking, oh my god, am I getting my money's worth? Is this amount of dollars equal the amount of content put out, or whatever, these kind of calculations. Or is it exclusive enough? Am I getting exclusive interaction enough to justify this cost? If I get to thinking into that frame, everything gets fucked up, and I don't like it. Right? So, and yeah, that's basically it. This is all I wanted to say. This is a response of a video of hers, but I assume that you have watched that one before this one, so I'm going to link my 100 videos playlist here in case you want to check the other things I have to say. I haven't talked a lot about relationships, but maybe in the future there will be more. So subscribe or leave a comment on what you think. And especially if you think I'm wrong about something, because the gay versus same-sex versus different sex relationships was just some thought that I had while seeing stuff on media and like observing other people's relationships that I know. But it's by no means any kind of solid theory of anything, right? It's just anecdotal evidence and not even evidence at all, right? Just elucubrations. So if you have any experiences that you want to share, feel free to write them down, and see you in the next one.